It's really...
So anyway, Coda finishes this game, and then really he just kind of takes off for a while. So this is June of 2011, and I didn't hear anything from him for several weeks, I guess. And so out of nowhere, one day I get an email, and it's got a private link to a new game of Coda's. This one is called The Tower, and to my knowledge, it's the last game that Coda ever made. So let's take a look.
Yeah, again, Davey was doing that in the end for his happiness, for his perception of self, rather than for any genuine appreciation of Coda as a person. And this is like the trap, right? Because it's so easy to be narcissistic like that, to do things not for their intrinsic moral value, but because of the way they make you feel.
Yep.
I mean, it's a struggle because we live in this is something I actually think about a lot, and so I'm going to get into broader terms. We live in a culture that does not have any real single shared moral code. I mean, there's some things that we can generally agree on, like killing is usually bad, but even there's we live in a pluralistic society. Generally, that is a fantastic thing because it means that our personal moral ideas are often tested by coming into conflict or disagreement with other people's codes, that we're not surrounded by people who think exactly the same as us, and so we have to think, we ought to, and many people do, think more about the moral bases for our decisions, why we do things, and whether that's the right reason to do them. But it also means, as a side effect, that we rarely see appeals or advertising or any sort of mass communication that grounds itself in a moral appeal, right? You're not going to, unless you're advertising explicitly to Christians of a certain denomination, you're not going to advertise saying, this is what God would want you to do. Because if you're going to mass media, there's a huge percentage of Americans that are going to say, no, he doesn't, or either because they have a different sect, they have a different religion, they're atheistic, whatever. And so what we see when people try and get each other to do things today, it usually is sometimes for the sake of the people you're helping. That can be a big thing. But a lot of the charity work that goes on and a lot of the volunteering, people really seem to approach it in terms of how it makes them feel. And this is the endemic of running a marathon for charity. The for charity is tacked on. You want to run a marathon, and so why don't we have you gather donations to go to a cause? And note that I'm not saying this is bad, okay? I'm not saying we shouldn't do this, but I'm saying that you get far less of the people thinking about, you should do it because it's the right thing, as opposed to you will feel good about yourself for having done it. This is the culture we live in, and so feels natural. Davey wants to help Coda because Davey wants to be a good person. But he chooses his method of help based on the way that's going to maximize the good personness that Davey feels. That was a really long rant.
No, I think there's something to it.
Anyway, I think that's part of I still think Coda has a lot of the issues that Davey saw him as having. I think that depression, that alienation, he calls it loneliness, I called it alienation, but it's effectively the same thing. I think that's there in the games. I think that those come through clearly. Maybe Coda doesn't have those problems himself, but he's certainly thinking about and obsessing about those issues. And I would argue that can really only come from someone who knows what they're like. It's hard, you can't just imagine something so thoroughly. I agree with Davey. The bad feeling is there. But the problem is that Davey's fundamental narrator, Davey again, not Davey Reedon. Davey Reedon has done a freaking brilliant job of this careful work of double characterization. But narrator Davey is approaching his friend's problems through a narcissistic lens. trying to approach them not what will be the best for Coda, but will be the best for Davy because he got to help Coda.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And that is deeply offensive to Coda. I still don't know what the fuck is up with the orange, and it's bugging the shit out of me.
I just realized that this actually kind of has us starting in the ending room. Right?
Huh. Yeah, this is the aesthetics at the top of the tower, you're right.
And this is where I have trouble saying anything meaningful about Coda's work. Because more than anything else, the tower just feels distant. It feels like it's trying to distance itself from the world. It's a very cold game.
But this game we explicitly know was meant for Davy to play. So this game, this does not need to be a reflection of Coda's overall depression. This can just be he's pissed off at Davy and made a game.
Though again, you have to hate someone a lot to go through this much effort. Like this
room,
unless it's your medium,
has a maze in it.
You know, this is his medium, so it's probably not as hard for Coda to make a fuck you game as it would be for you or I to.
Sure, but still, this took a lot of work. Like, there are no reused assets at all from earlier games. I don't know. And more to the point, you know, I was talking about, oh look, a maze with invisible walls that hurts you when you run into them. It's totally like trying to navigate a social situation where there are rules you don't understand. I stand by that metaphor. I think that this maze comes from a place of, like, a metaphorization of a personal experience. Like, Coda wouldn't... yes, part of it is he's trying to hurt Davy in a way, but, like, I think the fact that he came up with this represents some experience from his life, whether he's aware of it or not. I think that metaphor holds. I think this game continues to reveal things about how Coda sees the world that he's trying to communicate to Davy. Anyway, cover your ears, we're about to trigger it.
Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible.
That actually wasn't nearly as bad as I expected.
Every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all. But I do want to show you the rest of the level, so when you're ready to continue, press enter and I'll put a bridge over the maze.
That's not a fair description. Those are... Hating the player is not the end point of not wanting to be played at all. Like, those are not on a spectrum.
Also, this game is not necessarily not meant to be played. I think that's Davy's assertion of all of Coda's games.
And Davy has interesting ideas about playability. Remember that earlier thing?
Can you jump down? Keep solving the maze. Nope.
I mean, I'm sure I just jumped onto a wall right there. I have to admit, that noise is not nearly as bad as I was expecting from the visuals. I was listening like, man, 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 or something along those lines. Hello, anyone listening to this on headphones?
And to be fair, it's not like this is the first game that's needed some modification to be playable.
Yes, it is.
Like the house cleaning game. You know, that one used to actually loop the cleaning chores, and you just cleaned a house forever. I had to cut it off so that you could exit the house and the game would actually end. But that game had an idea that it was actually trying to communicate.
But you fucker!
What's the deeper idea behind the invisible maze?
See, this level's... We're learning some shit here.
What? His entire goddamn interpretation of that game, in the game itself, had to do with the fact that you couldn't... Are you serious?
He made the game better.
Not just he...
He had his own idea for his interpretation, and he twisted the game to support his thesis.
Yeah! And then declared, like, this is what Coda is trying to say. Coda... What? What? Yeah!
So that's probably why Coda's pissed off. That Davy released all these games, but he didn't just release them. He modified and released them.
And in fact, that was apparently the version... That was one of the ones he mentioned showing to people.
Right. But he prescribed all this value to that moment in time where the guy disappeared and all the walls dropped away. But that was his own addition.
Yeah. again, there's a deep, like, narcissism. His worldview, his interpretation takes precedence. It's right. No one, anyone else is just
the only way past this challenge is to randomly guess the 6-digit code. Like the invisible maze, it's frustrating to me, because it's the opposite of everything else that Coda has made. It doesn't encourage thought or engagement. It doesn't ask anything of me, except a lot of my time. If I could have reached him during this time, then maybe I could have asked him, but I couldn't. I still don't really understand why this is here. I'll put the code on the ground for you here, though, so that we can move on.
Oh, okay, so I looked this up, and I totally forgot during one of our breaks. All right, Devil Tower Star. So the devil is deceit, manipulation. On the classic tarot card, Rider-Waite-Smith. Sorry. That if you think of tarot with like the old-timey medieval-looking illustrations, that's what you're picturing. There, the devil looks like, Baphomet, like got the horns and the sort of goat-type look. And, more importantly, standing next to the devil are Adam and Eve. So the devil is like deception and lying and making poor decisions and tribulations and all that sort of stuff, right? The tower is an interesting one because the tower in the tower is being destroyed. It's being knocked down. It's like it's the tearing down of achievement. You can read the tower as like the Tower of Babel or something like that. And in some versions, you have two figures falling out of the tower, usually. Like, the idea of the tower card is it represents, like, the failure and loss and destruction of things that you have made and that you have built. The star, however, is, like, the upswing from this. The star is, making a wish, having hope for the future, all that sort of stuff.
And the purpose of tarot is that you get multiple cards and you try and interpret the meaning of the relationship of the cards, right?
Yes. However, the major arcana is a representation of the fool's journey. That's why the card 0 is the fool. And the idea of the fool's journey is it is an inward journey. It is a journey that a person takes when they learn to like face themselves, recognize and defeat the temptations within themselves and the various things that pull until they achieve inner perfection. And the sequence of the major arcana, the named cards as opposed to, the Two of Cups or the Queen of Wands or whatever it is that they are the stages of the fool's journey. So you can see some meaning in the idea that Coda is fixated on this particular sequence from within the fool's journey. The idea of...
Which is actually not even taken out of order.
No.
Like, it's the actual progression.
Right. And it's...
Steps 15, 16, and 17.
The idea of, deception and failure and destruction followed by new hope and wishing and, renewal, blessing.
Well, type the code in.
Yeah, sorry. When someone pointed out in the thread, that was just absolutely fucking fascinating. Both in the sense that it's, apparently a sequence, hiding solutions between games or whatever, but also that this is a sequence, like a story sequence, that resonates with Coda. That he really likes this sequence of these three... fuck. I was focusing on that. I thought that he's... that time I just misclicked. Hang on.
Even if you know the solution, it could still be very annoying.
It's not supposed to be, I'm pretty sure. I just fat-fingered it. That was grinding. Right. So, anyway, I haven't had enough time to think about it, but I think it is not accidental that Devil Tower Star 15, 16, 17 is a theme that comes up.
The switch to open this door is actually on the other side of the door, meaning that it's literally impossible to solve from this side. So even if you somehow brute forced your way through the first 2 challenges and you got to this point, there's actually just no way to progress. And it's scary for me, the idea of Coda cutting himself off entirely, just saying, that's it, that's the end of the conversation, not giving me any way to fix the problem. I feel like a failure, I guess, when I can't fix the problem. But I can open this door for you, so let me do that.
Now, would it have been possible if we knew that trap was coming to drop down the ledge from somewhere else?
I don't think so, no. I don't believe there is any other place we could go. Yeah,
because
he's...
For not understanding this game? I don't know why
and he's making this explicit, but Davy sees Coda in some ways as a problem to be solved.
Yep.
Like, in a very well-meaning way, right? He likes Coda, he wants to help him, but he still sees him not as a person, but as... Or not fully as a person, but as a problem. He's not really allowing Coda himself the space to be a fully realized person.
It's true.
It would be. It's not like everything needs to have a solution, but I feel it somehow. I feel like I failed, and I don't understand why.
But if there was a solution between the levels for 15, 16, 17, do you think there is a solution to the
It's June
Switch?
of 2011. I'm playing this for the very first time. And as I'm playing, I'm thinking to myself, I don't know this person. I have no idea who this person is.
Yes.
It wasn't the guy I knew. It wasn't my friend. I had come to so many conclusions from looking at all of his work up to this point, and then suddenly none of them... I had been trying to, though. That was the thing. For years, I was trying to get to know him, to understand who he actually was and what he stood for. I asked him so many times to please just tell me what his games mean to him. I asked him please to tell me what the 3 dots mean. And he wouldn't.
An acknowledgement of the 3 dots.
I forgot to keep looking for those on my second pass through. I assumed that they were in every level.
An interesting acknowledgement, though.
Yeah. That is still a very strange element. I don't know why it's there.
I just felt so strongly that if I could have connected with him, that if I could have somehow made his work my own, that I would finally be once and for all happy. It was that I needed to see myself in someone else. I needed to be someone other than me. But he stopped and left, and it felt somehow like I had failed.
Holy shit.
Where did I screw up?
And the music stops.
I'm the reason that you stopped making games, aren't I? It's because of what I did. I poisoned it for you. I don't think I ever told you this, but when I took your work and I was showing it to people, it actually felt... It felt as though I were responsible for something important and valuable.
Yep.
And the people who played them, they treated me like I was important. They really listened and cared about what I had to say. Even though I was showing your work, I felt good about myself. Finally. For a moment, while I had that, I liked myself.
Is this a weird commentary on LPs, by the way? Because this is, in a way, Davy's making an LP over this game.
Yeah.
I said that half joking, but I wonder if there's something there.
No, it's definitely true. I mean, it's a really known impulse, right? It's like...
Yeah, if you can't create it, then you just talk about other people's stuff. It's like being a critic, just generally.
Yeah. Except for it's not so much that. It's the idea of being the person who found it is what makes you special. It's like it's not merely that you're... Because, I mean, even LPs, and I try not to have... like any opinion of the value of what we do, but the reason I'm comfortable doing it, that I can look back and not be embarrassed at myself, is that this adds something. When you present a game, even if you call what he's doing an LP, you're adding to the game. You are creating something. It may not be as good. It may be a derivative creation, but you're still making something new. You're adding a new idea to the broader dialogue. But what he's talking about, and this is so identifiable, is that you want to be the person who shares it. It's like, why do people want to be the first to post something on Facebook? Why do people want to be the first one to come up with, like, to share the new meme they saw or something like that?
Or just to comment first on a YouTube video.
Little cross LP contamination there.
Well, still.
No, I know. But yeah, it's like there is a joy. There is like a weird satisfaction that comes from being the one who found the thing. This is weird, but like way early on in my wife's and I relationship, like 10, 11 years ago or longer, she got frustrated because I spent a lot more time on the internet, and I would always be sending her the cool stuff I found, and it frustrated her specifically that she was never the one to like find something I hadn't seen before. Right? Yeah. It's like, in retrospect, how stupid is that? Like, whatever. But there is something. We do like sharing things that we find, and and so basically what Davy is realizing in character here is, he crossed a line in terms of respect for one friendship in desire to get this reflected glory for himself with his other friends.
But most creators don't actually care if you share their work. I mean,
but Coda did, and that's his right to care. I mean,
that's true.
More to the point, Davy's treating Coda like a machine. What does a machine generate? Games for Davy to show to people.
Yeah.
Now, the idea of a boundary that keeps me safe, I don't know about that. But, against my wishes, that suggests that Davy knew Coda didn't want this to happen, even if he hasn't explicitly mentioned that in his commentary. So I still think Coda has problems, but yeah, Davy violated that because Davy was too interested in what made Davy feel good than what was right for Coda, or what was thoughtful. So we're back from a quick video crash. I was asking if Davy had anything to say about this. And then, by the way, check this out. Did you know that there is a crouch button?
I did not. That seems
You can crouch.
uninteresting.
There is never a time that you need to crouch, but the functionality is in here. I suspect it comes with the source engine.
And then you stopped. And I didn't have anything left to show people. I just had to be with myself. And as soon as that happened, there was no feeling at all. Nothing. Less than nothing. What does that mean?
So it sounds like Davy really was pushing Coda to make the games, to make more games. But, again, I read some of this into Coda's work itself. I'm surprised how little commentary there is over this section.
Yeah, me too.
I'm afraid that I did something really stupid because I don't like myself.
It is, of course, interesting that you have to choose to lock yourself in. That was a sigh.
That's why I'm releasing this collection of your work, is because I haven't been able to find any other way to reach you. I've tried everything. And so a part of me has hope that if I put this compilation out into the world, and if I put my name on it, that maybe enough people will play it so that it'll find its way to you, so that I can tell you that I'm sorry. I know I screwed up. If I apologize to you truly and deeply, will you start making games again? Please, I need to feel okay with myself again. And I always felt okay as long as I had your work to see myself in.
Oh.
I mean, is something wrong with me? Because I know that I did an awful thing, and I'm doing it again right now. Like, I'm showing people your work, but I can't stop myself from doing it. That's how badly I need to feel something again, like I'm an addict. There has to be something wrong with me. Can I apologize? What if I tell you I was wrong? Will that work? Will that fix it? I don't know. I don't think it will, but there's nothing else that I can do. Just tell me what you want. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please, start making games again. Please help me. Please give me some of whatever it is that makes you complete. I want whatever that wholeness is that you just summoned out of nothing and you put into your work. You were complete in some way that I never was. And I want to know I want to know how to be a good person. I want to know how not to hate myself. Please. I'm fading, and all I want is to know that I'm going to be okay.
Wow.
Jeez.
He acknowledged that he is doing the very thing that got him in so much trouble.
Yeah.
Like, what a stupid idea.
So, yeah, that basically confirms... I mean, okay. So the problem with narcissism, as I understand it, and this may not be the actual official definition of the term, is that not only do you only see other people as an extension of yourself, but you need to see yourself in other people. Like, it's not...
More love, more praise, more people telling me that I'm good. Always more. It's like a disease.
It's narcissism. Narcissists require other people to be there to give them confirmation of value.
Who made this level? I mean, the tower was Coda's last level.
Yeah, so by extension, this has to be Davies, right?
And Davies acknowledged that he is the creator of the Stanley Parable, so this is in his capabilities, the character.
Yeah.
Solution.
So yeah, the character of Davy is narcissistic. He makes games...
I guess if someone had told me ahead of time that he just really enjoyed making prison games, maybe I wouldn't have thought he was so desperate. I wouldn't have told so many people that he was depressed. Maybe
that's where Davy's wrong there.
I think so.
They both have issues.
Oh, yeah. But so Davy is motivated by a desire to be reflected in other people. And Coda is not. For all his other problems.
Even now, the disease is telling me to stop. Don't show people what a shitty person you are. They'll hate you.
If this is a Davy level, it feels quite a lot like a Coda level.
Sort of.
If I knew that my life depended on finding something to be driven by other than validation, what would that even be? It's strange, but the thought of not being driven by external validation is unthinkable. Like, I actually cannot conceive of what that would be like.
This is a big problem that people face. I completely 100% empathize with this. Because, it's not like external validation is a wrong thing. We rely on other... want to talk morality and stuff, that's where our sense of morality and ethical codes generally come from, is by seeing other people, defining ourselves in relation to other people. Like, we can't exist in a vacuum. And yet, if that's all you have, is all you know about yourself is what other people reflect back at you.
I think I need to go. And I'm sorry, because I know that I said that I would be here and I would walk you through this, but I'm starting to feel like I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot that I need to make up for, and so I'm just gonna... Okay.
Like, that's never enough, right? You can never, ever, ever get enough external validation. Ultimately, you have to find a way to be satisfied internally. And we're talking about this in terms of games. Extrinsic versus intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
And intrinsic is just fundamentally better. Like, no one is, as far as I know, trying to argue that games ought to have more extrinsic motivators in them. The problem is that intrinsic motivation is so much harder. One of the games I keep coming back to whenever I think of the term intrinsic motivation, like, it is fun simply to play, is actually the old game for originally PS2, Okami. You played Okami, right?
I'm familiar with it, but I never actually played it through. I think my roommates were playing it.
You play a god dog. I'm just going to stand here and look because I don't want to trigger more narration until I'm ready. And you play a dog, and you're just running around. It's not anthropomorphic, you're just a dog. And wherever you run, because you are the goddess of the sun, flowers spring up. And one of the very, very early levels, after you make it out of the, tutorial village or whatever it is just a huge open field. And I spent probably, wow, that's interesting. Tons and tons of time just running around that field, watching the flowers spring up in my wake, because the way it captured just running as a dog was so fun. It really captured the sense of joy and speed and movement and a sheer love of life through the fundamental mechanics that almost nothing I can think of has ever come close to that. And that's intrinsic. That's when the act of playing is fun.
But those types of experiences tend to be extremely brief, right?
Well, so are Coda's games.
Exactly.
Because after all, intrinsic motivation doesn't have to be specifically about fun. It has to be about wanting to proceed because of how it sort of makes you feel internally. The motivation comes from something you want rather than that the game gives you. And Coda's games are all about that. They're all motivated by a curiosity, by an emotion, by a sort of tension that you want to explore. And Davy is the one, as we said, who keeps adding in extrinsic motivator. And now I'm wondering, did Davy add the chimes to the text bubbles? Probably not, but we don't know how much he shifted.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, extrinsic motivation eventually runs out. It's not sustainable. Also, I thought about this. Last time I asked, why did they have you drop down to be lifted up? Well, because this way there's both a downward and an upward movement involved in this transition. It's not just you drop down and continue. You drop down and then you go up. And the directions of up and down, I don't have to tell you, I'm sure, are really important to the sort of emotional mood of the game.
It's like you went down too far and it's bringing you back up a little bit. It's kind of there.
Yeah.
That's right, and now it's ending with an ascent after Davy's out of the picture.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was the transition point. That was everything was down up until that point. Then it started to go up, and now we're going up again.
Nope. The walk in this level, the twisty path through the cave was a slope upwards. You walked up this. No, it's been a mixture of ups and downs in this level, really.
Yeah.
Sound is fascinating here. Well, that's new.
Turn back from this cave. You said, let me prove that I'm brave. Let me keep going. But the cave goes for miles and miles and miles, and you're so tired, but I know that you're strong, so turn back, turn back.
Much more than a game about the creative process, this is a game about happiness and satisfaction and purpose. This is a game not asking how do we create, but why do we create. And it's resonant for me because I feel fairly strongly, just on a personal level, that creation in one way or another is sort of the answer to the question of, like, what's the point of anything? Like, creation is its own answer to the question of purpose.
Yeah. Do you feel like listening to it with Davy's narration changed your interpretation of the game versus the first time?
Absolutely. It definitely... cause now it clarifies for me what developer Davy is trying to say. Before that, all I could really feel like I could make a strong impression of is, what is Coda trying to say? What sort of person is Coda? But now, having heard the whole picture, I can see what themes the actual artist, as opposed to the artist within the artwork, is trying to argue for. But I think it was incredibly helpful to reaching that second level of interpretation to have thought so purely first about the character artist and what that artist, what Coda is about. Because you're right, narrator Davy really, really colors the way you think about who Coda is and what Coda is trying to say. And I think he gets a lot of it wrong. On purpose from developer Davy's perspective.
Yep.
This was absolutely fascinating. I'm really glad we did this. I'm going to have to chew on it a little bit, and if I'm feeling super ambitious, maybe I'll make a clip show video later with thoughts, but...
What do you feel about the song at the very end? Turn back from this cave.
Obvious.
Yeah.
Perhaps a little too on the nose.
The biggest open question for me still remains the issue around the woman. And I think that the first time I played through the game with the narration on, I didn't focus on that at all, because the narrator doesn't focus on it at all. But when we played through it, just exploring Coda's works individually, there was a lot of emphasis that he put on that. And that's just very fascinating to me. I wish we could learn more. Maybe in the DLC, right? It
still makes so much more sense if Coda's a woman. And it frustrates me that the text of the narration explicitly confirms it's not. Like, Davy saw Coda in person. I mean, maybe it's a comment on transgenderism. I don't know. But that seems really abstract. I don't think we're meant to be wondering that. I don't know. Maybe we are. God. I wonder if that's a clue in. But that's now just really, really wildly theorizing. It would make so much more sense if their narration never confirmed for us that Coda is male.
Well, is it possible that the female figure is like Coda's muse or a symbol of his creative source or something? I don't know.
Maybe, but Coda is all about intrinsic, right? Coda would reject the idea of a muse being part of creation. It's just coming from inside.
Interesting.
I don't know. Once again, I need to kind of turn it over in my head a little bit. I'm sure by the time the last video gets posted in the thread, I'll have had enough chance to really think about it and have something thoughtful and intelligent to say. But
yeah, I've enjoyed taking this opportunity to explore these two unique characters with you. That's been
this was
pretty insightful. This is now my third time playing through it.
This is really cool, and I'm glad you suggested this. This is a really unique opportunity for me to get to experience a work of art this way. So,
good times.
All right.
Well, thanks for playing.
Thank you. See you next time in Talos Principle, which everyone watching this thread should totally go watch also. It's our sort of main LP going on at the moment.
Sounds good. I'll be there.
Yeah. All right. See ya.